through a live relay of voices. From Blake Pfeil to Celeste, Lecesne, Raine, Grayson, and Mueller, stories are passed forward, connecting personal experience to collective impact, as well as inviting the audience to write their own. Please join me in welcoming them on stage.
In 2017, I started working for a nonprofit organization called TMI Project. It's in New York's Mid-Hudson Valley, and it was co-founded by a couple, Eva Tenuto and Julie Novak. For the past 16 years, TMI Project has utilized the ancient art of storytelling for social justice movement building. Specifically, we're looking for the TMI parts of people's stories that they usually leave out because of shame or embarrassment. And we do this in a number of ways, not just through workshops, but live performances, documentary films, and my personal favorite, our award-winning podcast, the TMI Project Story Hour. Now, I'd studied musical theater at university, or what I like to call getting my BFA in feelings. But I had a multitude of other interests and professional endeavors. And with TMI Project, I felt like I had discovered this landing pad for all of these interests in one spot, not just theater, but journalism, writing, social activism, media production, but all of these fall underneath the banner of the magical word storytelling. I have always been obsessed with stories that have the power to shift culture, stories that move beyond entertainment and actually have the formative power to change people's lives. Now, I thought working at TMI Project would mean helping other people tell these stories, but I didn't realize just how much it was going to change my own life. As most of you probably know, storytelling is a surprisingly effective way to create community and to deepen relationships. And just by being associated with the organization, I felt like I kind of started to find my people. Very quickly, Eva became my gay mom, and Julie became my gay dad. But my true understanding of what was happening to me as a result of working at the organization didn't start until I decided to tell my own story. I'm standing inside of a giant peach costume, staring out at the congregation through two peepholes, dancing my heart out to the ninefold fruit of the Spirit in song. I am the lead in the youth fall choir production Fruity Tunes, which is a spin-off of the Christian animated series VeggieTales, singing, "He gives love, joy, peace, and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. He gives gentleness and self-control. That's the ninefold fruit of the Spirit." And a cast of other elementary school kids twirl around blasting their love for Jesus Christ on the cross, all from inside a heavenly host of other fruit costumes, including an apple with an evil worm inside, a hand puppet that snakes out the top, another symbol for how our love for God can become infected by sinful and dirty things. And I love the climax of the play when the worm swithers back down into the apple while a robust chorus of children, not dressed up as fruit, shout over and over to the worm, "You are the devil and the devil is bad! You are the devil and the devil is bad!" And we receive thunderous applause and a standing ovation. And as the praise settles around me, I feel safe and secure and deeply connected to God. This church, it's my second home. I wander the hallways and I sneak into every single deacon's office. I spend long hours in the sanctuary, scribbling notes on empty donation envelopes with meaningful messages like, I like butts, or I really like butts. I discover the secret passageway behind the choir loft and the deep sense of peace looming back there, a soundproof haven. And I spend hours lying on the ground in that narrow space, staring at the dim lighting on the ceiling and praying that God will take away this thing from me, this thing that I feel so deeply ashamed of about myself, that I know is wrong because the Bible told me so. I come to Jesus with a truth about myself inside my head I know that I can't speak, because if I do, I'm not going to be welcome in this home away from home. When my brother goes to college, I get his bedroom and bathroom in the basement. Newfound privacy. What starts as innocently clipping photographs of Justin Timberlake out of People magazine and hiding them in a secret spot in my underwear and sock drawers slowly transforms into exchanging more illicit photos of men down to their skivvies on AOL Instant Messenger way late into the night. Now, one day, I'm home alone, and I'm on the computer, and I log on to LimeWire, and I type in 7 measly letters, Gayporn, gay porn. And then immediately, thousands of results pop up. I download, then delete over 200 photographs. I can't stop. When I'm 15, I realize I can print porn off of my computer at my dad's house, then hide it in my backpack, and transport it back and forth between my mother's house and his house. And I build up a hefty arsenal of 8.5 by 11 printer paper porn, and I feel like the master of hiding things. Until one day, I come home from school, and I find my mom sitting in the kitchen with the complete stack of printer paper porn sitting in front of her. Do you want to explain this filth, Blake? My stomach turns upside down. I've been caught, and I can feel God frowning at me. I ask, do you want to explain this filth, Blake? I don't know what to say. No matter what lies I can muster up, all roads lead to hell, maybe deeper. So I start to dissociate, and I can't recall what's said or what's happening. And it takes weeks of awkward silence before my mom finally broaches the Gayporn subject again, and she calls the youth pastor at First Presbyterian Church. We can call him Mike. And she schedules some time with him to chat. I walk into Mike's office and I sit down, and Mike is a kind man with a handsome face. About 2 or 3 sentences in, I stop listening and I start imagining what Mike looks like naked. It's counterproductive to what my mom and Mike are both telling me are God's intentions, but I can't help it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Mike says, I mean, I had my own experiences with men, but my ears perk up. I feel my heart start to beat rapidly. Did Pastor Mike just come out to me? He goes on to say that even though he had these multiple experiences with men, ultimately all roads lead to hell. And then he reads Leviticus 20:13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them. I leave feeling confused because I'm pretty sure that my youth pastor came out of the closet to me while trying to push me back into my own. But I also leave feeling humiliated and disgusted. But you know what? Deep down, I don't care. What am I supposed to do? Truly, what am I supposed to do? When I finally come out to my mother a few years later, she acts as though she doesn't expect it. But I know that she's known for a long time. In the summer of 2020, I drive across the country back to Colorado Springs, and I call my friend Titi, and we meet downtown across the street from First Presbyterian Church. I stand on the second floor of a parking garage, and I catch a glimpse of myself in the tinted windows, dancing in my fuzzy peach costume, singing my heart out in fruity tunes. And I can't help but laugh at the irony. I put my hand up and I wave at my younger self, and he waves back because we both know exactly who he is supposed to be. Thank you. After sharing that story, I started to understand something that I hadn't understood before, that stories don't help us just make sense of the past or understand the present, but they actually have the power to help us distill and devise entirely new futures for ourselves. My mother and I, we worked through a lot after I told that story, and it changed the course of our relationship forever, for the better. The TMI project community has weathered a lot over the past few years. But there has been nothing harder than losing my best friend, Julie Novak. In 2024, at 51 years old, Julie passed away from stage 4 breast cancer, triple negative. And her loss changed the community and me forever. Miraculously, and I don't use that word lightly, the last project that Eva and Julie got to work on together was a portrait film about Celeste Lecesne, who is the co-founder of the largest LGBTQ+ youth suicide prevention organization in the world. And since 1998, the Trevor Project has provided life-saving services to over 1.3 million queer youth. And as a gay theater kid who was closeted when he was young, you can imagine that Celeste became a longtime hero of mine. And in fact, the first paper that I ever wrote at Feeling School, college, was a play that Celeste had written called Word of Mouth. And in fact, that solo show would become the catalyst for the future of Celeste's entire illustrative career. It's crazy because the younger version of me never could have imagined that one day I was going to travel all over the United States and now the world, screening a film connected to one of my very first heroes. And I got to witness over and over and over again the power of people coming up to me afterwards and saying in some way, I thought I was the only person who felt this way. And I think in many ways, this work of storytelling has always been about that. It's helping people like you and like me realize that we're not alone. So, I would like to show you now, with your permission, the last piece that Eva and Julie ever worked on together. The name of the film is One Story at a Time, Celeste, Lecesne, and I hope you enjoy it.
As a child, you have so many of you, like there's so many aspects of you, but I think that I was always a very kind of upbeat kid. I made my own fun. I had a very interesting little posse of kids on a dead-end street where I grew up, and we got up to a lot of creative things, radio shows, circuses, 8mm films. We lived in this neighborhood where everybody had the same house, so we would make a scene in the living room of one house, and then the mother would find out and we'd get chased out, so the next day we'd go into the living room of the house next door. From a very young age, I certainly knew I was different. I caught on early that liking boys, I understood that was wrong. And I also understood that I wouldn't be able to have a life. At the time, I didn't have words for it. I just knew that I was going to have to kill off a part of myself. And that began this sort of inner violence that one does to oneself, where you're constantly watching yourself. You know, your body suddenly becomes an enemy to you, because it's doing things that it should not be doing at the times when it's doing it. To grow up in a world in which who you are is considered criminal and insane and damned, it's a heavy burden for a kid to carry, especially quietly. I think that there was a certain point when I was no longer charming to my parents, and that broke my heart. And there was a certain amount of disgust for who I was. And I didn't really understand what I'd done, but I could feel that I had disappointed them. Everything happened for me like 8th grade. I was just crazy in love with someone I considered my best friend. And I realized that it was a liability for him to like me, or to be seen as liking me, even as a friend. I think I'm fortunate in that I have a very strong sense of self. And even when I found out how the world viewed homosexuality for real, I was like, you can't be serious. You're talking about the way that I love, that I'm naturally inclined to love. I thought everyone was crazy. In a book by Andrew Solomon called Far from the Tree, he talks about this idea that you're born into a vertical family. At a certain point, in order to survive as a person, you have to find your horizontal family. You have to leave the family and go out. When I was 15, I was in love with my best friend, as usual, and he invited me to go down for the weekend to a theater and open up the theater, paint it, fix it up and everything. And the owner of the theater invited me to come back for the summer and work as an apprentice. But I found my people. Like, you're fabulous. You're amazing. Where have you been? I was like, in New Jersey, in a suburb where everybody was not on board. For me, you know, the theater was my horizontal family. And once I found it, then I just took off. Not only was it the people who thought I was fabulous, but I stumbled into a world of story. It was truly, this is the medicine. To be able to transform into like some other human being, one of the things that queer people have to do is they have to find the way to tell their own story. I was putting together a show, and I was sitting at home one day, and I heard a news report on NPR about teen suicide. They just casually mentioned at the end that gay and lesbian teenagers were 3 to 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their heterosexual peers. This wasn't such a shock to me because I understood it inside my own self. But what was a shock was that it was just said offhand. Like, you know, I just became obsessed with this idea. I went to my journals that I had been keeping since I was about 14 years old, and I could read between the lines of how desperately I was trapped and how much love I had to give the world and I was not able to. Living a life on the tip of a phosphorus stick, scared of any friction, any upset or conviction, and knowing deep down in the very clothes cover before striking of you that unless you just awaken and scream out loud to be taken, you'll never get your chance to imitate the sun. I interviewed every gay and lesbian I knew, and what I found was that everybody had come to a point where they were like, I can't. How can you live into a world that wants you dead? So I sat down and I wrote a story. Trevor is my story. I started performing it, and I remember that first time about to step out onto the stage and truly feeling like someone was going to shoot me. Because to portray a 13-year-old boy on stage who is awakening to his sexuality was very taboo. And I think what convinced me to go on with it was the reaction of the audience. One night, my friend V, who formerly Eve Ensler, came to see the show, and she said, "You're amazing, and the show is fantastic, but I could make it better." And she did. And that show then moved to off-Broadway, got all sorts of awards, and then it was made into a short film.
Dear Diary, today I practiced for my funeral. It has been that kind of a day.
2 years later, we made arrangements with HBO to put it on television, so we knew people were going to see it. We just had to responsibly do something. So in 3 months, we found the way to be able to create the Trevor Project, so that young people, if watching the film at home, if they related to the character of Trevor, that they would have someplace to turn. That first night that the film aired on HBO, over 1,500 telephone calls came. I love entertaining. I love turning on people to new ideas in a performance. But the other thing that really gives me such joy is to be in a room full of people much younger than I am who have the ability to see the future. When I hear the number of bills that have been introduced into state legislatures, and I see this all-out campaign to disappear and silence this generation of young queer people, especially trans and non-binary, I'm like, no fucking way. My dream for the next 5 years is audacious. And it's that we start listening to young people and we hand them the keys to the car and say, don't hit anything. I was touring around the country. I just remember being floored by what was happening with the young people. A new iteration of the species, like, it just was so thrilling. Incredibly connected emotionally to themselves, to one another, sense of community, sense of history. My generation, the generation after me, like, those stories are told. What's happening here is a brand new story. As queer people, we all had to make the world up from scratch. It was a DIY situation. That doesn't happen anymore. Young people come into the world and there are resources. There are other people. Any advice I could give them would be only find the people that have the tools. And the greatest tool is love.
Celeste, I just told him this recently, but he's also my fashion icon. You can see why. Please help me welcome to the stage Celeste Lecesne.
Hi, everybody. What a beautiful, beautiful sight you are. And what a beautiful event this is. The whole thing, everything is so beautifully produced. Everybody's so interesting. Anyway, okay, so someone asked me the other day why I became a storyteller. And I was really surprised by the words that came out of my mouth. I said, I'm a storyteller because I grew up in a story that had no words. And this probably explains why I'm always so attracted to stories that are hidden or unspoken. It was Julie Novak and Eva Tenuto, the co-founders of TMI Project and the producers of this film, who encouraged me to come forward and tell the hidden story of mine. And they felt it was time, and I think they were right, because here we are today. And I'm so honored to be here, and honored that this was the last film that Eva and Julie worked on together before Julie passed away. It was her amazing ability to interview a person, her sense of humor, her curiosity, her ability to make just anyone feel at home inside themselves, that inspired me to tell the parts of my story that were TMI, or too much information, or felt that way to me. I also had the privilege of working alongside Julie Novak at the Future Perfect Project, an organization that I started in 2017. At FPP, our job is to amplify the creative voices of LGBTQ+ young people, and to give them the opportunity to redefine what it means to be a queer young person in today's world. It's a testament to Julie's incredible spirit that she continues to inform and inspire the work that we do at the Future Perfect Project. And this is also true at the work at the TMI Project. This is where I turn the page. So over the years, the work that I've done at the Trevor Project and at the Future Perfect Project has given me a firsthand experience of the power of story and just how powerful it can be. It instilled in me a strong belief that telling your own story is not just a human right, but it's also an essential rite of passage for anyone who is planning on becoming a human being. But still, I was no newcomer to storytelling when I encountered the work of TMI Project, and yet I was completely blown away by their ability to create an environment where people felt free enough to be able to tell the truest truths of their life. I found it an astounding organization, and I remember the first night I went to see a TMI production, walking up to Eva and Julie. And even before I introduced myself, I said, okay, I figured it out. I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. We are working together. And they were like, and you are who? And it's sort of the way that I knew that this was the right thing to do. And sure enough, about a month later, we came up with a brilliant idea to collaborate. It was 2018. I was looking for a way to honor the 20th anniversary of the Trevor Project, and I just felt like there might be a connection there. As you know, Trevor provides a service that is literally life-saving, but because all the calls that come in are anonymous or confidential, there had never been a true life record of the stories from people whose lives had been saved by connecting with the Lifeline. And yet I was sure that those stories existed, and if found, they could become a crucial service in terms of saving people's lives. So we sent out a call to anyone who had an experience or life-saving experience with the Trevor Project. And we brought 10 young people to New York City for a 5-day experience in which they got to tell their survival story as part of an off-Broadway production called Lifelines. And I am so thrilled that one of the performers from that production is here today to tell his story. So please, please welcome the amazing Raine Grayson.
I'm no more than 12 when I start harming myself. I try to hide what I'm doing, but I can tell by the concerned stares of my teachers that they are starting to catch on. I decide to tell my mother before anyone else can. All evening, I try to muster up the courage. I finally walk into her room. I have something to tell you. I cut myself. All she says in response is, do whatever you need to do. Just let me know if you want to kill yourself. That's when it's serious. I'm 13, and my girlfriend and I have just broken up. Lost and alone, I wander the side of the road and resolve to jump in front of the first car I see. One approaches going a measly 30 miles per hour, not fast enough to get the job done. I wait for another car to roll through, but the street is barren, so I walk home. I'm 16, and I'm not sleeping for days at a time. I'm barely able to leave my bed and hallucinating shadows in the corner of my room in my delirious state. I wake my boyfriend up to tell him I love him. He notices something is very wrong, and I reveal my plan to end my pain. He tells his parents, who suggest they take me to the hospital, and I beg them not to, so they don't. I'm 19, and I am at a therapist's office for the first time. I provide her some menial details about my life, my day, schoolwork, my cats. I don't mention that I don't want to live because I don't want to burden her. I'm 22 and I can't deny my truth any longer. I come out as trans. I receive the same love, acceptance, and freedom I see in the documentaries that inspire me, but I am also met with violence. I'm physically attacked at my workplace. I'm called a faggot. My car is dented by a man who saw me use the same bathroom as him. Instead of hating myself for keeping my truth bottled up, I hate myself because my truth makes it impossible to live a full life. I'm 23 and I drive to the train station, suicide note in hand. But before I do anything, I contact the Trevor Project. I don't have the strength to call. I can't bear the sound of my own voice, so I text. I don't remember everything we said, except that I never thanked the other person I was texting with for helping me save my life. Over the next couple of years, I graduate college, I become an award-winning playwright, I get engaged, my partner and I plan a big life together. I'm 26 and I am petrified again. Due to a political climate that feels increasingly volatile as a trans person, with open debates about bathroom access and waves of anti-trans legislation moving through state houses, I want to hide myself away again. I fear that my life will be taken from me sometimes by someone else and sometimes by myself. I reach out to the Trevor Project again. For 45 minutes, we talk about ways to cope, grow, and feel better. At the end of the conversation, I say, The last time I used this hotline, I never said thank you, and I've regretted it ever since, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And there's someone else I've never stopped to thank. Myself. And I need to. I need to say thank you for consistently picking myself up when things seemed like they could never get better, for insisting that I push on, for choosing to survive. Today, thanks to the Trevor Project, and thanks to myself, I am 34, and by God, I want to live. Thank you. Thank you. You know, when I first told that story in 2018, I had no idea it would lead me here, but I am so glad it did. When I joined the Lifelines program, which, by the way, I only had the courage to do because Julie urged me to, I was just a trans person who had called a lifeline because I didn't know if I was going to survive the night. Standing on stage then and now, telling this story, it didn't fix things. To this day, I'm still navigating transphobia and learning how to navigate my depression. But what it did do was teach me that my truth mattered. It taught me that I didn't have to hide the messy parts anymore. They were as much a part of my whole as anything else. It taught me that my story has the ability to move people and to make change. It was amazing, and while that story isn't easy for me to tell, I would tell it 1,000 times over because it means I get to see and experience the ripple effects again and again. After that performance, I became what I would lovingly describe as a TMI Project superfan. Any chance I got to interact with the organization, I took, because nowhere else inspired the same bravery and courage as TMI Project did in me. In 2020, I was contracted by TMI Project to be a workshop leader for them, which is where I lended my creative talents to help other people tell the same kind of stories I got to tell and experience the same kind of freedom I got to experience. And in 2023, I joined the organization full-time. Now, I get to spend my days creating spaces where people like me, people like you, get to tell the truth about their lives. It is awesome. And this is one of my favorite parts. I have also helped to train the next cohort of workshop leaders moving into the space that people like me have left. It is awesome. And, you know, the Trevor Project and Celeste, you helped me survive, and TMI Project and Julie and Eva, they helped me transform that survival into a purpose. Because a notebook like this doesn't just stay in one pair of hands. Tonight, I want to introduce you to somebody who represents the next ripple in that pattern. Lily Mueller first came into this work through her connection with Julie and Celeste. First, they took workshops with the Future Perfect Project, then went on to teach those workshops. And most recently, I had the absolute pleasure of teaching them to become a TMI Project workshop leader and editing the story you're about to hear them tell. Which means what you are about to witness is the full circle of this work. A person becomes a participant because they heard someone else tell their story first and they got inspired. A participant becomes a storyteller. A storyteller becomes a leader. And then that leader goes on to inspire the next voices moving forward. Tonight, it continues into the future with Lily Mueller. Please join me in helping to welcome them to the stage.
So I'm sitting in the back of the bus with my best friend Ellie on my way to another day of 3rd grade when I say something that's been on my mind for a while. I think maybe God made a mistake and gave me a boy brain. How do you start? Thank you. Ellie cocks her head. Do you think you're transgender? She asks. Like it's nothing. But it isn't nothing, it's something I've spent forever contemplating. No, I respond hesitantly, because I know what transgender is and I know that it doesn't apply to me. Because I don't feel like a boy, except for when I do. And I don't feel like a girl, except for when I do, and I'm my parents' only daughter. I'm trying so hard to be good at being a girl because I'm desperate to stop making things harder for them. Desperate to fix the mistake that I'm sure I am. Because I'm not easy. At school, I'm a pleasure to have in class, but at home, I explode. I pull away when hugged, I scream when my mother does my hair. I need tags, cut off clothes, food not to touch. My parents try everything they can, and I learn that femininity is how I can repay a debt. They love me. They're happy little girl. I want to deserve that, to keep that. But I also want to look and be different. I dream of feeling a breeze on my bare neck, swimming shirtless with short blue hair, but I'm forbidden to cut it, told it's the most beautiful thing about me. I'd look ugly or like a boy. Why on earth would I want that? I'm paraded around like a show dog, so pretty, so well-behaved, so normal. So I try to be. I perform my role. Every year, I go to my school's father-daughter dance. It seems like the least I can do. My mother is so happy she gets to do my hair, put makeup on me, make me look pretty. It feels like girl drag. My dad even matches his suit to my custom-ordered corsage. One year, he takes me just days after shoulder surgery. He must be in pain, but still suits up. If he can do it, I can too. There's a photo from one of those nights. I'm beaming, genuinely smiling, but what no one can tell is that under the baby blue Cinderella lace, I've got an ace bandage wrapped tight around my chest. I think about sneaking outside and stepping into the street or walking into the woods and never turning back. But I don't. I grin for the camera. Maybe if I'm still enough, I'll feel beautiful. That bus ride with Ellie didn't give me answers, but it did something else. It gave me permission, years later, to say the truth out loud, to question. At the beginning of the pandemic, I'm in my childhood bedroom with a garland of photos of old friends I've grown apart from hanging above me. It's the loneliest time I've ever been through, and I've lived through plenty of lonely times. And bing! A text from a friend pops up. Their mom found a link to some sort of queer youth workshop. It's called the Future Perfect Project. I like the name, so I say screw it, and I sign up. I lock my door, and I turn on my laptop. Hesitantly, I type my newly minted pronouns into the little box beside my name, they, she, he. And that's where I meet Celeste, one of the workshop leaders, the first openly queer adult that I've ever met. And they absolutely shine. Then all these kids pop up in their own digital windows, writers, singers, artists, and unapologetically themselves. And, in addition to Celeste, the other workshop leaders, all brilliant queer artists, writers, performers, Emma, Ryan, and the fabulous Julie Novak. They show me new ways to be, new possibilities for my future. That first meeting feels like a sunshiny breath. like something in me finally clicks into place. What feels like a lifetime later, Celeste invites me back to facilitate a workshop. A lot has changed. I'm in college now. Julie passed away this year from breast cancer. I glance at the photo of her I have on my dorm room wall. I'm nervous, overthinking everything. What can I possibly offer these kids? But Julie is there, looking back at me, reminding me I can be fabulous and fierce, just like her. The young people are miracles. What do you say to someone who's just cracked their soul open in a Google Doc? You say, that line was gorgeous. Growing up is hard. You are good, just the way you are. The theme of the workshop is acceptance. Most of the peace I found as an adult has come from learning to accept what is, even when it hurts, even when it doesn't match the story I had hoped for. I think sometimes of that bus ride with Ellie. I wish I could repay her for opening a door to the future, to who I could be, and most essentially, to acceptance. I'm still figuring out who I want to become, but I know this. I'm not here to be pretty. I'm not here to be good. I'm here to be. To laugh loudly, to make strange, beautiful art, to live my own life in my own body, and to sit beside a kid still binding under a prom dress and say, you're not alone, you're not broken. It's okay to be who you are. Look, I'm here with you now. I made it. Okay, thank you. So, as you heard the wonderful Celeste say earlier, sharing your story is a human right. And today you've heard stories about survival, transformation, grief, healing, purpose, and belonging. And you've also heard over and over again that these all became possible because people created a space where they could tell the truth. And it doesn't end with me. It gets handed over to you. You, right there. Can I ask your name? Vaso, I love your dress. Thank you so much. Okay. You all should have one of these handy-dandy notebooks. It looks like this. If you don't, I think our wonderful event staff might be able to hook you up. And inside that notebook, there's a few things. Ooh, very exciting. There is a list of props, and there's instructions on how to write into them. And there's also an invitation to join the TMI Project's latest offering, which is the Julie Novak Storytelling Club. The club, which is named after our late founder, Julie Novak, is a monthly gathering where people from all walks of life come together in person and online, in English and in Spanish, to write, to listen, and to claim their human right to tell their story. Now, as you all leave this space today and have what I hope are wonderful evenings, I don't just want you to remember our stories, I want you to consider your own. So what is the story that only you can tell the world? Like, what truth might the world need from you now? And what could change in your life, in your community, maybe even beyond it, if you chose to share? So, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here. And thank you in advance for the stories that you are brave enough to tell, because we know that your story can change the world too.
Young people are miracles. It's not over. You're going to write a story. And I've been asked to just read this thing. Okay, so every story you will ever tell has you as its secret source. Wanting that story to do well in the world is one thing, but even better is the business of listening and watching and waiting for the moment when the story finally surprises you, when it reveals something about yourself, something you imagined yet could never have predicted. And the beauty is that anyone in the world can do this. Anyone willing to pick up a pen or open a computer and begin typing. Everyone has a story, just like everyone has a soul. The magic is in the making. Are you ready to astonish yourself? So we're going to take about 3 minutes, I think. You're going to do this?
Okay, so we have talked a lot about writing. We have about 4 minutes together. Like Lily said, you all have notebooks. You have a little one sheet with how you can join the new Julie Novak Storytelling Club. It's free. Once you are a member for life. Please come. Our next virtual workshop is on July 15th. But right now, I just want to get you all writing. And then afterwards, if you want to share what you've written with us, we're going to be hanging out in the lobby back there. Come share it. We would love to hear it. So let's do the quickest TMI project free write ever. I am going to set a timer for you for 2 minutes. I would like you, if you have a notebook, to pick that notebook out. I'm going to read some prompts for you, and I would like you to write into those prompts. You can choose one of them. You can choose a couple of them. Whatever you'd like to do, whatever inspires you. My only rules for you are: do not let your pen stop moving. Even if what you're writing is this dude up on this conference stage said, I just have to keep writing, write that, and then the next thought will come to you. And I'm going to curse, I'm sorry. Allow yourself to write a shitty first draft. We are not trying to do anything but tell our stories here. The free writings like this are exactly how all of our stories started. So I'm getting out my iPhone. I see people with notebooks. I see people with pens. I'm going to set that 2-minute timer. And the last thing we're going to do together is write. So go for it. You have 2 minutes. And we're about halfway done. It goes fast. Okay, and that is time. Thank you for writing with us. Thank you for experiencing, again, the shortest TMI project workshop ever. Thank you for coming. Thank you to our ASL interpreters. Thank you to all of the event staff. Again, we're all going to be hanging out over in the lobby back there. So if you've written something, we would love to hear it from you. We would love to talk to you. We would love to give you a sticker. And write on those little one sheets that came with your notebook. That's what you can scan to sign up for the club. We would love to see you there. We would love to keep writing with you because just like all of us, all of your stories can also change the world. So thank you.